Del is a lovesick, young woman who often acts like a tomboy. Del often dresses in jeans and sneakers. She doesn't pay attention to her physical appearance, as she doesn't brush her hair often. Del is also clumsy. She breaks the doorknob and falls on her grandmother. She resides with her grandmother and mother. She has no money or job and often takes money from her senile grandmother. In the neighborhood, she has friends, Ava, Tima, and Fez, whom she usually calls for meetings. Del often causes problems in the neighborhood by pouring hot water on her cousin, Taylor, and fighting with the landlord. Some may say that Del is a hero in the neighborhood as he fights the landlord who wants to evict the old woman, Sophia. Del dreams of love and often fantasizes about men. She has a wallpaper of a famous Indian actor in her bedroom which she often talks to. She wants to find love. She decides to go to the fortune teller to find out her fate with love. He argues that she could talk about reincarnation. She tells him that she doesn't care, so he agrees to do a palm reading for her. She overloads him with so much information about herself for the palm reading to work. The fortune teller begins to narrate her life story to the shock of her friends. He mentions that she has never been loved before. Provoked, Del asks if someone would ever love her. The fortune teller tries to ignore her by doing another person's reading. She reaches out to him, holding him by the collar, and angrily requests that he tell her about her love life. In fear, the fortune teller tells her that she would meet someone new and lies about the name by making up the letters C, M, and L. With that, she leaves him alone. She is excited when he tells her that she would fall in love in 2 days. Geeky and romantic Cam and his younger brother, Emilio, the handsome and tall one, move to the neighborhood to start up a photography studio. Although Emilio is hesitant about the neighborhood and complains about everything, Cam is thrilled about his new journey here. While the landlord gives a tour of the place, Emilio is indifferent because he thinks they want to rip him and his brother off. Del is excited about the fortune and dances happily on the streets. Her friends stop her when they see the initials C, M, L on a license plate parked in front of the photography studio. She approaches the car with haste and sees an old man, Kasim. Del meets the landlord who threatens to evict the old woman and her family. In anger, she gets into a fight with him and bites him. Cam watches her in amazement and calls her the most feisty, beautiful woman ever. Del decides to teach the landlord a lesson by deciding to trash the photography booth. She meets Emilio and fantasizes about him. She tells him that she wants to wreck the place, but because of respect, she would do it later. When he tells her his name, she remembers what the fortune teller said about her true love. She behaves awkwardly to him and Emilio wonders why. She eventually leaves to join her friends. Her friends quickly notice the change of behavior as she is filled with smiles and is generally happy. The next morning, Del's mom hosts a few women in the house as they gossip about the neighborhood. Del steps out, happy, and tells the woman that she has fallen in love. They quickly jump to conclusions and think that a wedding is happening soon. Del is so in love that she takes off the actor's wallpaper from her room and pretends to break up with him. She begins to think about the possibility of her and Emilio. Back at the photography place, the brothers argue about the wall's color. Cam thinks it should be flowers painted on the wall, while Emilio thinks that it should be a plain color. Del begins to spy on him with her friends. Emilio notices, and he calls her crazy. Del works up the courage to see him in the store and to make conversation. She puts her hand over the damp wall and talks to him. Cam is infatuated by everything she says and continues to look at her. Emilio could care less about what she says. The painter calls her out, but she refuses to get violent because he is present. She leaves for Ava and they agree to meet at the park with the other friends. She admits to her friends that she has fallen in love with Emilio. Back at home, her grandmother urges her to eat, but she says that she isn't feeling good at this moment. Her mother asks about the man and she tells him about him. Her mother mocks her for love at first sight. On a side note, Ava is falling in love with Del's cousin, Taylor. He comes home drunk one night and kisses her on the cheek, which makes her fall deeply in love with him. She tells Del that she may like him. In response, Del tells her to stay away from Taylor because he is not serious. Back at the photography place, the place is all set up, so Cam decides to publicize the opening to the neighborhood by using the microphone. He tells them that there will be a free photo shoot for everyone who comes. Del arrives with her friends to score him. Seeing Emilio, she attempts to kiss him on the cheek. She later introduces her friends to him. In the process, she raves about him, making him uncomfortable. He leaves to take someone else's picture. Her friends chastise her for being so easy and tell her to not make it easy for him. She should play hard to get. With a change of mind, Del intrudes on the place and kicks the old woman out. She then decides to start insulting him. He warns her to not insult him, but she doesn't listen, hoping it would pull him closer to her. Ava sees Taylor and talks to him about the kiss, but he doesn't remember a thing. It hurts her, and she promises not to forgive him. Del rushes out of the photography place when Emilio insults her. Her friends follow her to the park and ask her what happened. She cries that she will not have anyone and will be left alone. Ava changes from her usual quiet mode and starts to speak up vociferously. She advises that Del should be everywhere with Emilio. They devise a strategy to get him to fall in love with her. Del then decides to go where he goes, the gym, the barbershop, and later on, the beer parlor where they watch soccer. The plan did not work as Emilio does everything to stay away from her. Ava then decides to follow him to the cinema. She disturbs the movie for him, which makes him upset. Angrily, he storms out of the place. She is relentless as she follows him to the art exhibition. Ava tells him to make sure he notices her, but it doesn't work, so later on, she suggests jealousy. Del walks into the photography store and sees him with an old woman. He calls him out on cheating on her. He mocks her and she leaves, upset. At the women meeting at Del's house, they talk about Del seeing a man. Her mother is confused because she thought Del only likes the guy and isn't planning to marry him. She believes people are spreading rumors. The women decide to question Emilio about his life to get more information. They all go to the photography studio and try to use taking a picture as a front to gain more information from him. Ava advises Del to get closer to his brother, even if she doesn't want to. Del decides to go out with Cam while taking pictures of her. They go out for ice cream, go on the Ferris wheel and have fun together. He is thrilled to be with her. After the fun day, he drops her at home. He calls her beautiful before he leaves. Her friends notice that Cam likes her, but Del is clueless about the fact. Fez tells his friends that he is going to play the piano at a restaurant. Del invites Cam and Emilio to the party. In preparation for the party, she decides to put up makeup for the first time. The makeup doesn't turn out right, but she doesn't care. She imagines he would kiss her. Her mother catches her practicing kissing on the surface of the mirror, so she awkwardly explains everything. The friends arrive at the bar, but they are not allowed because of their lack of reservation. Tima devises a way to let them in. She confuses the security guard for Idris, and as they talk, Ava and Del sneak in. They order drinks. Fez goes to the stage and starts to perform. Emilio and his brother show up and they sit with them. She sits close to him, making him uncomfortable. She gets on the stage to start singing as Fez plays the piano. An old man begins to be inappropriate by showering her with petals. Cam decides to fight for her, and it turns south as the old man hits him. The friends break into a fight and are eventually sent out of the restaurant. Del places an ice pack on Emilio's head. He says he just wants to protect her and she wonders why. She faints when her blood pressure gets low. The next morning, her mother wakes her up to tell her about the eviction notice. They both confront the landlord on the decision. Cam has fallen in love with Del and wants to marry her. He seems excited about it and asks if he and his family can have dinner at his home. Del agrees, thinking that Emilio wants to propose to her. They all gather in the house for an introduction. Emilio's family is shocked by the weirdness of Del's family. There is very awkward small talk. Del's mother asks her to make coffee. Ava follows her to try to tell her that Cam loves her and not Emilio. She doesn't listen. Taylor tries to apologize to Ava, but she doesn't listen. She serves them coffee. The father starts to talk and says that Cam aims to marry Del. Del quickly speaks, arguing that it is Emilio who wants to marry her, not Cam. Emilio quickly tells her that he doesn't love her, and that it is Cam who wants to marry her. She refuses to get married to Cam and kicks them out of the house. Cam is heartbroken as he leaves the house. Emilio warns him that Del is not the right woman for him. In response, he cries out that he has only loved one girl in his life and it is unfair. Back in the house, Del locks herself in the bathroom, making a fuss. He humorously says she is going to end. Felix comes in and she says she will throw herself outside the window but falls in the process. She wakes up in the hospital and is told that Sophia is getting evicted. In the neighborhood, the landlord has packed all of the woman's things and is kicking her out. Cam tries to speak up but he is ignored. Del shows up and intervenes. She takes the cars to his Jeep and steps in. She traps him in the windshield and makes him admit that the house still belongs to Sophia. He agrees after being put in distress. The audience loudly applauds her for fighting for them. Sophia speaks to her about her love life, telling her that she was blind to someone that loves her. She tells him that Cam is the best for her. The brothers are leaving for a wedding, so they lock up. The gossip that Cam is going home to get married begins to spread. Cam leaves a package for Del with all of their pictures and tells her that she is the sweetest woman. When realizing that the fortune teller may be right, he decides to chase after him. Kasim then offers her and her friends a ride to the wedding. Back at the wedding, Cam is sulking and Emilio tries to make him feel better by telling him to take pictures of the couple. Del's car is stopped as the tire is deflated. Taylor gets a ride from a bus filled with football players. Struck with tragedy, the police stop the bus and order everyone to leave the bus. The friends devise a plan to escape in a farm car. The police quickly rush after them to catch them. Tima derails the police by falling off and letting the others go. When the farm car is spoiled, Ava stops the car and they get a ride to the wedding. Del eventually meets Cam. He is confused about why she came. Del pours her heart out to him and tells him that she didn't know what he meant about loving her. She agrees to love him and they begin to dance. Ava decides to forgive Taylor and they decide to dance together. During the dance, Cam asks Del to get married to him. He tells her that she can agree whenever she can. They dance together happily, excited for the life that awaits them.